I'd like to give a disclaimer over here that I am not a immigration consultant or a immigration lawyer. Everything I say is either from the experience I have through being in this path of immigration, or is from the official IRCC website, of which I would definitely put many, not all, links in the description so that you could refer by yourself. I would say that anything I say, you should first go through yourself on those links, study and analyze case per case as per your understanding, and then go forward. Do not rely on any specific words or any specific person over the videos or any vlogs. Hi everyone, so I am back again with the second segment of these videos. In the first video, we discussed about what is AIP, Atlantic Immigration Program, what are the requirements. If you have not gone through that video, the link is in the description, you can check. In the last video, I promised you all that I would be sharing the most important part of this process, which is that how to get a job offer while you are back in your home country or you are in Canada. So let's begin. To start with that, I have come over the computer. I would be sharing the screens, and this is not so difficult task to get a job. I myself have went through this process and have successfully got the job. And it is not required that you should have an extensive experience of so many years in your field. The thing which matter is that how are you able to get the link or get the uh, I should say that the specific company who is really in requirement of a skilled employee or an employee in Atlantic province. And the second part is that how would you convince those employers or the human resource people who are taking your interviews that you are the right fit for the position. So to start with, you have already come across that in the last video that there are four. So you have already come across this thing that in Atlantic province there are four provinces. So every province have their own designated employer list, and this is a live document which is being updated by the province every time, and new employers are continuously enrolling themselves in the designated employer list. So you have to basically just go into your Google and you could just simply say designated employer. Let's see PEI. So this is PEI designated employer list. Here you can see that I could show you these all companies right now are designated employers. So for example, Coastal Tire and Auto Services, Coastal Culture. So these are many companies. The same way, if I talk about other province, the remaining three province, I would search again as designated employer in, let's say, Nova Scotia. So again, you would find an extensive list of all the employers which the province says are designated. There's a complete process of an employer to get enrolled or listed in that list. If your employer who is interested in hiring you at this time is not a designated employer, I would highly suggest you people to approach them and tell them about this designated thing, and they could even get themselves designated. The same way, if I go to any other province, which is the remaining two provinces, the same goes for designated employer in New Brunswick, and there will be a list of designated employers over there. Here also you can find these all employers are there. So, okay, so step one would be to just find the designated employers. Now you have come across the designated employer list. Some are in PDF, some are in web page. So what to do? I would suggest that first of all, for example, if I come here, I would just take this, which would be the name of the business, and simply make an Excel sheet. So in Excel sheet, you can just write uh, the employer number, which would be this, then the employer name. This is how I did it so that it would be easy for you because there would be many employers. So you should not confuse yourself, and this is better to find the specific employer who would be interested in your skills because those employers will be a relevant employer in your case. The same goes, this would be a lengthy process, but still, I suggest you this is how it should be done. So again, you could just pick it up and you can just paste everything over here. So when you've pasted everything from the PEI designated employer list, then you could go if you're interested in other provinces like Nova Scotia or New Brunswick or Newfoundland and paste those employers also over here. Once you have done that, just by seeing the name of the company, you would be very well aware by the name that which sort of company this is. So for example, if a person works in back in his home country and has an 1 year of skilled work experience in his home country or in Canada, and that skill experience is basically into food manufacturing, let's say. So the food manufacturing, there are high chances that the food manufacturing experienced person would get a relevant opening in a food manufacturing sector. So I would suggest, for example, in this case, if a person back in his home country was working in some sort of food joint or any franchisee of food or that sort of thing, in that case, they can mark all the companies which are listed when you copy paste them from that website and say that yes, it is relevant to me. And the same goes, for example, if the next one is not relevant, you can just say no. And the next one, if it is relevant, say yes. And just this would be a process, a one-time process. Later on, you can just add those new companies which have been updated in that list. But for starting, this is the way uh, I should suggest you people to go. So this would be an extensive list of all the employers and whatever employers you are interested with. When you have done it, you could just filter it and say yes. So that means that these are the employers which you feel would be the highest chances of giving you an employment. So let's say this was the employer which you feel could give you an employment as your past experience was in line with this. So you just copy the name of this employer, just go in their website, paste the name. So this is an employer XYZ. It's in Summerside, PEI, and you find a web page of these employer. Just go on the web page, try to look for the openings which they have. So generally it is on the bottom side or on the right hand side top. So just go on the career and right now see these people are hiring this much jobs, which is cook staff, waiters, delivery staff, managers. So these are actually the openings which is in this location, and they are in high demand of employees which could handle these positions. So you can very well go inside, for example, a cook staff, and in the cook stack, you could basically go in and find the details or the job and descriptions, whichever it is, and you could apply it. So, for example, in this, they have given the main functions, whatever it is, and requirements, working conditions, and finally you could apply. So these are in Amherst, in different locations you can check. So over this, they say that this is in Nova Scotia, this is in New Brunswick. So you could check where is Summerside because basically we are talking about the employment in this company in Summerside, which is in Prince Edward Islands. So this is PEI, but this is a different location. So you would have to search on which location is designated as per the province. So once this is done, your first task is over. You found the employers and you found the jobs relevant to your work, and finally you have applied. Then it is just a terms of follow-up with the employer. In case if you have an email ID of that employer or the HR, you could just put a reminder or a smooth reminder in your behalf that you would be really interested in the position, and you're a hard worker, you have this and this experience back home, and why it should be that you are a good fit for this position. So once this is done, then you already have applied, and then let's say if that employer finds that yes, your profile is suitable for the position and they would be calling you for an interview. In that case, if your interview is clear, which are high chances because you have filtered all the companies which are in relevant context to the experience which you already have. So there are high chances they would select you, and be in mind they are in requirement of people to work over here. So there are high chances that you could get a job working with these steps which I told you. So moving forward, if in case they select you, the second step you would need is a settlement plan. So what is the settlement plan? This is basically a thing in which the company or the third party who gives the settlement plan will tell you what all things are required to be known by you when you come over here. So for example, you could they could simply do it on online, they could call you, you could do it in person while going over there, and they will tell you that for example, the health system in this province is like this. There are different requirements in this province, so that is more of an educational thing which they tell you so that you could very well settle in the new province or the new job. I'll basically say the new province, so that your family and you do not face any much problem while a new culture is there. You could know all the ways to go around, how is the medical services, where to go around. So everything they try to explain you. Once that is done, they will give you a settlement plan. So these all links will be down in the video. I'll copy this and just show you. If you can also Google it, and you can write settlement plan for Atlantic Immigration Program. So this is the link. This is an official website. Nothing which I talk about in this video will be unofficial. Everything is on the website. Going forward, at the bottom, they say that if you are outside Canada, these are the service providers. If you are inside Canada, these are the ones. For example, if you are outside, for example, in India or Philippines, then you just write yeah, and you would find that this is an online global for India and Philippines. You could contact them and they will give you a suitable time for it. If you are in Canada, then you can just write the name of, for example, in Nova Scotia, this is the place, this is their email address, this is their phone number. You could just put a mail to them or call them, and you would finally get a date or a slot on which they would give you an online call or a webcam call or something sort of those things if you are not physically available. Uh, this is yes no section which says that if you are only understanding French, are they able to give the services in French or not. So you could search in this and you can book the session over there. It is varies upon the location, that it could be from 1 week to 1 month. You would get an appointment with them, and when you get the appointment, it would be basically a 15 minutes call in which they would be explaining you about the new policies which the province has and how you would be easily be able to settle in the new province. So when this is done, you would get a settlement plan, and that settlement plan it is required for your endorsement. So keep in mind that settlement plan, either the employer could get it for you in the same process, or you could also initiate the same. if the employer says that if you have to get the settlement plan, and that settlement plan PDF, you have to give it to your employer. The second thing would be that now you have got the settlement plan for the endorsement purpose, because for applying for the permanent residency and the work permit, you would require an endorsement from the province and a letter of support. So these are two documents which are required. So basically what you have to do, these are the documents I'll be sharing with you, which you would be requiring. This would, the link would also be in the description, so you could just take a screenshot also of this, or you could just go to the web link and everything is mentioned on an official website over there. So the first thing over here is this form, which is an offer of employment form for a person who is not a PR or a citizen of Canada, and this is IMM 0157E. I believe that this form I could open right from here. So this is the form in which this is offer of employment for foreign nation. This is something which you don't have to fill. Your employer will be filling it once you have completed the interview, you have been selected, and there's a settlement plan for you, or he or you have applied for a settlement plan. So it can be done in parallel to your settlement plan activity. So these all details are required, which the employer will fill. Is, for example, the employer name, its location, what type of company it is, what type of position it is, what is the job title of the position. These all details, and at the end, you just have to sign on this and keep a copy for yourself, because this is a document which you would be requiring for endorsement purpose and also for applying for a work permit or a permanent residency, a PR. So this is an important document. So this document, if done, then the second is the detailed job description, which is also covered in the above document. So the employer is responsible for doing it. You don't have to worry about that. Proof of equipment efforts is also from the employer. They know very well, the designated employers, that these documents are to be given for getting an endorsement for their new employee, which is supposed to join. Then there is an evidence of candidate's previous work experience. You very well know that you should have an experience of 1 year, which I explained in the last video as well, in the relevant experience or the tier or knock. So you would have to show that in which you should have a complete letterhead from your previous company, in which they would be mentioned that you were a full-time employee and you were having so and so position over there, what was the start date, end date, and there should be some reference phone numbers of people who worked with you or were your supervisors over that company. So this is a requirement which you have to provide. So I'll just mark it as this is something which you have to provide to the employer. The fourth thing would be the English test. The English test being IELTS or some other sort of English proficiency test which you have to give. I explained in the previous video that for tier 0, 1, 2, 3, the CBL score is 5, and for tier 4, the CBL score is CBL 4. For sorry, the tier 4, the CBL score is 4, which is pretty okay in terms of the requirements, which are not so tough. Then this is something which you have to provide, so I'll mark it as yellow. The candidate including any family member settlement plan. So this settlement plan we already discussed, this would be for you and your family. So the moment you would be applying for the settlement plan, they will take the names and the passport of you and your family who would be accompanying you, and will also be getting a PR or a work permit with you while you apply. Uh, the next would be the signed copy of the employee designated form. So this is basically that every province has their own formalities in this term, only in this document. So for specifically for Prince Edward Islands, they have this employer declaration form in which you simply have to just write the employee name, and you would have to name the employer and sign it. You would have to read all the details, all the requirements, everything mentioned over here. So please go through it. This is also which you have to provide to them, and it is easily available on the Google or official websites. If the candidate is already in Canada, if you're already in Canada, there are chances that you are in postgraduate work permit or you are in some other sort of valid work visas or valid visas. In that case, you would have to provide a copy of that, for example, a visitor visa or a study visa or a work visa with the application. And lastly, would be the birth certificate, the passport, and marriage certificate of you and your dependents who are coming with you. Be in mind that the birth certificates which are there should be an English language, or there should be a formal translation of your birth certificates. And in some other countries, like they don't have name on the birth certificates. So in that case, you would have to get the birth certificates again, which should have your name on the birth certificate, and it should be in English. So if it is not, then you have to convert, get it translated, and notarized that this is a formal translation of your birth certificate, and you would have to attach both the versions. So many people make mistakes that they only upload either the home language or the native language one or the English one, but you have to upload both the documents. So moving forward, these were all the documents which were required. I already explained you that the offer letter document, which was IMM0157, which we discussed, that this is an employer which document which he has to provide, and these are the other documents which we discussed in this video. So after doing all, compiling all these documents, getting the settlement plan and finalizing these documents, you could easily apply for the endorsement. And finally, when you get the endorsement, there is an option that you could also apply and tell your employer that at that time, please, I would require a letter of support as well with the endorsement. And when you get the mail, because that mail is basically in different provinces, either you will get it or your employer will get it, will have two documents. So one would be the endorsement letter from that specific province in which that employer is designated, and the second is the letter of support which you would be requiring for a work permit till the time you get a PR. And in the next video, we will discuss about the next segment, that now finally you have got the endorsement and what all documents do you require to apply for the permanent residentship in the PR portal. So there have been some changes in the documents which we will be discussing in that video. We'll be putting the video of all the sections of this video in the description of this video. So thank you so much.